Welcome to On the Rec Yard, Women's Prison Podcast, where we are live on the rec yard.
Well, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday night on the Rec Yard, Women's Prison Podcast. I'm Toonche, and there's no Marci. There's no Marci. I turned out for rec by myself. by myself. I wasn't sure if she was coming. Y'all, Marci's been incredibly sick over the past day. And I hadn't heard from her to see if we were going to cancel the podcast tonight or go forward. Go forward with me and in my solo capacity with all of you in the chat, my community here. Diane's already nervous. We shall see how it goes. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. Audrey Lee, thank you. Thank y'all for showing up. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous that when Marci's feeling better, bless her heart, I think she's been passed out all day with fever. And she's just been really sick today. And I'm just nervous when she is in her full capacity. She's going to look and see that I did this all by myself. And y'all will have to give me glowing reviews when she returns to the rec yard. So, hey, Miss Sherry, I see you. Good to have you here tonight. Audrey Lee, my little baby is sound asleep over there on the couch. Taylor's over there. I've already put her to sleep. So hopefully I don't put y'all to sleep tonight either. Diane, this is my new headset, and I'm going to be honest. Not only did I want to be here with y'all so we can keep our consistent time and community on Wednesday nights, but I told Diane, well, I really want to try out my new headset. Because y'all, I go back and I listen, and Marci's audio is always really great. Her background always looks good. My lighting is crazy. Y'all know that I've invited Sharon Stone to sit in the background, but my sound is always bad. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's kind of tinny sounding, right? Because I don't have any carpet in my apartment, and just haven't been pleased with it. So I said, well, I guess I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to get a set of a gamer. This is a gamer headset. And yes, Miss Jerry. Oh, you were saying I always glow. Well, I am literally glowing. Check that out. I'm still a teenager at heart. So yes, Diane, I am I am going to land this plane called On the Rec Yard tonight. So it's good to see all y'all. Angela, I hope you're right. I hope Marci will be proud of me. I will tell you, I know we talked last week about the shadow in the background that made me feel like I was not alone in my apartment anyway. But in order to drink out of my lioness mug, I have to move the mic. It's a little frustrating, but we'll get through it. Thanks, Angela. I'm glad you're here. And I will, of course, Marci will see all this and see all the well wishes that everyone hoping she's feeling better. Diane, I always tell you not to worry or panic when anybody isn't feeling well or not answering, but it's very unlike her to go this long with not responding to me. And Marci's a pretty tough cookie, and just lets me know that she really doesn't feel well. And so I'm not going to worry. No, I'm going to worry. No, I'll probably continue to worry until I hear from her in the morning. But Anyway, would love, we may not stay the whole hour because who can put up with me by myself for a solid hour? Not even, not even me. Um, so if y'all have topics you want to discuss, we can always talk about Taylor Swift or Taylor the cat. I'm always open for that. I did tell Diane, um, I was thinking maybe another discussion on Yellow Jackets, and she didn't seem really didn't seem really jazzed for that. Um, so I'll hold back on the Yellow Jackets commentary again. Well, I guess until the fourth season comes out. And you're right. I hope that when she, y'all remember when you would miss rec, okay? You'd miss rec because you were sleeping or you were, I don't know, getting out of the shower, you were on the phone, whatever it was. And you hear them call rec and you say, hold the door, tell them to hold on, tell them to hold on. And then you hear that dreaded boom. They've shut the gate, shut the door. You hear them keys jingling and you know they're gone. And most of the time that officer's not coming back. And you missed it. And then guess what? You look out the window for those of you that were at Mountain View. If you lived in H dorm for sure. Now, G dorm sometimes you could see out the side if you were on the G1 side. But H dorm, you would look out there and you could see the rec yard. So imagine Diane, Angela, Miss Jerry, y'all are in H dorm and you look out and you see Toonche sitting in the grass by herself, just sitting there. And you know that either I came out by myself because I was sad or depressed, or somebody stood me up. Now, what the reason you got stood up for. If somebody comes out there and says, hey, your friend, she was in the shower, usually right? Unless your girlfriend's mad at you and she stood you up on purpose, which I guess, did that happen to me? I don't know. Yeah, it did. But you also knew that you had friends that if you stood up and you didn't have a good reason, they were going to be mad. They were going to be upset because nobody wanted to be on the rec yard by themselves, just sitting in the grass. Now, Diane, if you're still there, do you remember? Wait, I want to tell y'all something. If Mountain View's rec yard was pretty big, not compared to the other units, it was really large. And in the middle was this big kind of field of grass, and only the couples sat in the grass. Y'all know this, Miss Jerry, Diane. And one time we were out at rec because me and Diane would go out and walk. I guess what, Diane, once a week. And I said, come on, let's sit down. I'm tired. I want to sit down. And she's like, no, I don't want to sit in the grass. Because when couples sat in the grass, we weren't a couple, but people would assume you were. And then couples sitting in the grass were enjoying themselves. I'll just say the least of that. Miss Sherry, I did get stood up. That I did. Lindsay Crumpton, that name comes up a lot here on this podcast. She stood me up several times because she'd be mad at me. I know it's hard to believe. It really is. Weekly recap. Carrie and Diane are trying to get me on track here. Weekly recap. Let me hit that button. I got to do it like Marci does.
Hey, Toonche.
Oh, it's like she's here in spirit just to hear her voice. Lets us know that we're going to be in trouble in the morning. What did I do this past week? Well, a lot of work. Y'all know I work at the After Violence Project. I'm the advocacy manager there. And then, of course, my work at Lioness was a lot of meetings. Nothing glamorous, y'all. A lot of meetings, a lot of working on documents and one-pagers, and just really a lot of, I don't know, not a bunch of exciting. We've got some exciting things coming up over the next week. We have Saturday, we're having our statewide Second Chance Day. So please check out the Lioness social media or the After Violence Project. We've posted that. And so we're having local groups that are getting together, and then we're going to connect via Zoom. It's just going to be a day of celebrating what second chances mean to us. Then we're having a film screening. I don't have any coffee. A film screening next week. So those are things to look forward to. You can check out our social media pages for more information on those events. But I will tell you how Easter went. Lori's not here because she's already in bed, even though I told her I was doing this by myself. She could be here in the comments hyping me up like BF Diane. But that hoe's in bed. But what did we do for Easter? Well, we were going to have some plans with our friend Pam for lunch, but she was still in church. So, yeah, we just took a bunch of fun pictures, went to a flea market, bought some stuff, had some barbecue. It was lovely. It was really great. I was thinking, I wonder what the girls are eating in Gatesville. Gatesville, when we say Gatesville, we really mean just like women's prisons in Texas. It kind of symbolizes that, even though there's several units elsewhere. What do y'all think they were eating? I bet you they were eating that ham steak. You remember, and I'm not talking about the pork roll. I'm talking about that ham steak, that was flat. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I bet that's what they had for Easter, and a piece of cake, which I'm glad for them. Serena didn't call me. Nobody called me from the prison this weekend to let me know how their Easter went. But how often do they have rec? Well, Audrey Lee, it depends on the unit. So if they're short staffed, I'm assuming you just mean in general, we would have rec. Depending on your custody level also, right? The lower the custody level, the more restrictive your custody level is, the less opportunity you have for rec. You are supposed to at least have 1 hour a week outside, regardless. But people in general custody, we were supposed to have rec 3 times, offered to us 3 times, and I'm talking about outside rec. We also had what was called day room. Inside rec is what they technically called it, and the day room was open from 6 to 10:30, and then on late nights it was until 1 or 2, depending on your unit. But we were supposed to have outdoor rec at least offered 3 times. Did that happen? No. Now, way back in the day when I was locked up when I was a kid and I had entered the adult system, we had rec all the time, all the time. But over the past 10 years, they just don't have staff to be able to run rec. Is Mandy here? Why did you say Mandy? Is Mandy watching? Anyway, let's see. What did Miss Jerry do? She said, I went to Galveston with my daughter and have pictures of sunrise from Crystal Beach. That's really lovely. Miss Jerry, we should have you on the show sometime. Now, I know that you tell me you don't know how to run that technology, but you do. You do. You do it better than I do most of the time. So we should have you on here sometime. There's Mandy. There's my boo, Mandy. I'm feeling loved and supported right now because I'm winging it. And does my mic sound good? I hope it does. There's Sade. Hey, Sade. Real excited to see y'all tonight. This makes me feel less nervous. I was telling Diane early, I was like, girl, do you remember when I used to do this by myself? It was just me. And if you thought I ramble now, Lord have mercy. You should check out my YouTube page of my first little videos. Gosh, I had done them maybe a year and a half after I'd got home. It's bad. The lighting's bad. The sound's bad. It was a good time. Rayanne, she asked, "Can you tell us what you do at the After Violence?" I don't remember the name. Okay, so it's called the After Violence Project. It used to be Texas After Violence Project, and so what that is a community-based archive. And like like the National Archive, like governments and institutions like universities will have archives, stories, collections of stories, or very much like a museum, right? Like you're collecting all these items to preserve for history. Some of them you will showcase like a museum, like for the public. Other times those collections are closed. And so what a community-based archive is that it's the community that holds it, right? Like it's an organization or a group of people um, that are preserving community history. And so for After Violence Project, we dropped Texas off because we're a national organization now, is that we document stories of state violence. And so that could be the death penalty, mass incarceration, um, immigration, folks that are unhoused, like any type of harm that people experience from the state, from the government. And that also includes neglect, right? Like we know that the heat crisis in our Texas prisons is a form of state harm. It's a form of state violence because they're allowing it to happen. So we collect stories, oral histories, recording people audio or video to preserve their stories and protect them for future generations. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool place. And I am in charge of helping activate those stories or find projects that can really articulate why these stories are important to preserve, and to also work on, you know, different different avenues to like address state harm, I guess you could say. So Miss Jerry says, "Do you have any idea what I look like? You're 83 and you look like it." Well, honey, I wouldn't expect you to look 19. But we love you just the way you are. And I think you are gracefully 83 years old. And I would love you to be on here if you ever feel like it. I would love for you to be able to share your story and your wisdom. Y'all, Miss Sherry was locked up for decades. And I would love for you to be able to share your wisdom. Mandy says, you can tell them about our wreck in the law library. So I will. So me and Mandy, we had become friends and we lived in the dorm together. And stuff happened. I think you've shared it here or in other spaces. So I hope I'm not just divulging about your life without your permission. So stop me at any point. But Mandy, she ended up in cell block. So we weren't able to see each other, right? Like cell block's a separate housing, different custody level. And the only way that general population a lot of the time could spend time with people that were in cell block in other custody levels, we couldn't rec together, we couldn't go to chow together, we couldn't do any of the programming. No, you kind of just have to see each other from a distance. You could go to the law library. So the law library, which was located often in the education buildings, was a place where you could go look up like court cases to like work on your appeal or grievances, anything legal. Now, I bet they don't do this at men's units because again, they're very petty with women. You can request to have a legal visit with another incarcerated person. Right, because the TDCJ, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, does acknowledge that the best way for folks to be able to work on legal work is often together, right? Like that's not against the rules. You just can't be in possession of each other's legal material. But so you could have a legal visit with another incarcerated person. Now, the officers that run the law library, depending on who they were, could be very nitpicky about that. What are y'all working on? And if y'all were together as a couple, they're going to give you such a big problem. So they really scrutinize it. But I don't. Nobody gave me and Mandy a problem when we wanted to go to the law library. I worked in the education building, and Mandy, they always knew our business. They always knew who our girlfriends were and who wasn't, and all that jazz. So we would have to drop forms, and you'd have to drop them at the same time. And don't drop them in the same handwriting because then they would say, "Oh, that other person." They were petty. So you kind of have to calculate when to drop these forms at the same time so that y'all can get your schedule and they would schedule. So me and Mandy would have our rec time in the law library with some books open up and with like we're working on grievances because neither one of us had court stuff that was active. So and for the most part, I think the law librarian left us alone because she had couples to nitpick at. So that was our rec time, and it was pretty cool that when I got out and I had moved to Austin and realized that Mandy lived so close, and we saw each other for the first time. You remember it was at that cafe? It's closed now, um, but I was like, this is so much better than meeting in the law library, aka our rec yard. So it's pretty cool. We get to see each other out in the real world and not have to sit in a stuffy law library. What will I be? Diane wants to know, what will you be addressing at the board meeting tomorrow? Well, honey, what if TDCJ is watching right now? I want it to be a surprise. I want it to just be something that is. I want it to be a surprise. So I'm not going to tell anybody. If y'all want to see, go to TDCJ's YouTube page and they live stream. I feel like this is rubbing up against my headset and y'all are hearing a lot of noise. Could be wrong. But you can go to their website and you will be able to watch it live. So, Texas Department of Criminal Justice YouTube, and you'll see it pop up live early in the morning. It's going to be all day. Public comments should probably be around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's see. I'm looking through for more questions. Who? Amanda Cassidy Trejo? Well, so far I don't feel like I need rescuing. I feel like I'm doing the thing. I haven't done anything that I feel is really remotely embarrassing yet. I mean, but I could. The night is young, and let's hold out hope. Hey, Melissa Ramey, let me tell you something. That law library at Riverside, it was Lover's Lane back in the day, and Melissa's talking about 80s, 90s, late 90s for me. It was because it was in that. Was it still when you were there? Was it in the administrative building? There was a building that had commissary and that had classification, that had the law library up here. Lots of nooks and crannies in that building. I'm just letting you know. So it was the place to be. Thank you, Carrie Lynn, for assuring me that I feel like my hoodie keeps rubbing up against this, but so far so good. Thank you. Great audio, thanks. What? Not yet. What's your most embarrassing prison story? Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, I'm just going to share what it is. Here we go. Now here came the moment, Amanda, and you're going to be the person that the what do they call it? The Harjum. What is that word? It used to be a religious book. Anyway, you're the person ushering this in. So my most embarrassing story was, I don't know if I should tell this. Me and my girlfriend. It was, oh boy, we were doing what girlfriends do. Okay. And we, back in the day, and Melissa, you may remember this at the Gatesville unit before it was called Crane. The dorms had a back room. We called it the clothing room. Okay. And there were 3 beds back there and a bathroom and a closet. Okay, so it actually used to be a clothing room. It was the dormitory, had the beds up front with the showers, the day room, and then there was this little room in the back that was for laundry. I'm serious. They used to have washer and dryers back there, and the dorm did their own uniforms and laundry. Well, they took that out and put beds back there. which is wild because everybody wanted a clothing room bed. At Mountain View, they called it the back bedroom. Um, and you wanted that because you were secluded. The officer from the pipe chase couldn't see you. You were all the way through the day room in a room that nobody could see into. So, like I said, there was a closet, and it was an empty closet. There was nothing in it. Like they used to just store brooms or whatever in there. And I know Belinda's not watching, but back in the day, Belinda worked maintenance and she would pop those locks off of those closets because they would keep them closed. I mean, there was nothing in them, it was just a space. So you can imagine, we called it the hotel. And so when we had a good law, everybody would take turns checking into the hotel. At that time, I was in 4 dorm at Riverside. We had about 6 couples in the dorm, and any woman who's listening to this right now knows how rare it is to have that many couples in a dorm. Somebody's getting run in. Somebody's gonna tell that there's couples in here, regardless if they are having any type of sex or not. It's just because there's haters, right? Well, we had a dorm that everybody lived there based on their job. So it was the commissary girls and maintenance. And that was about 3 years before they busted that dorm up. And we all lived together. We all had big time and we all worked the same job. We were living in that dorm, all of us, about what, 30, 40 of us stayed in that dorm almost those whole 3 years. Nobody ran each other in, none of that. And then I can tell you some stories later on what happened to that. But anyway, so all the couples would take turns checking into the hotel in the back bedroom. Okay. Now, Aurora, who is listening? Who is listening that knows Aurora? Okay. I could do a whole episode on her. Now, she says, Jennifer, let's check into the hotel. I said, no, I don't want to. The lady that we had, her name was Miss Washington, a younger woman, very pretty, but she was police, meaning that means strict. On top of it, she was on point. Okay. And I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to do this. I feel nervous. Something don't feel right. So our friend Kim and her chick were at a table by the window in the day room doing beaded jewelry because back in the day we could have our craft items in the dorm. So we could work on stuff in the day room or, little craft stuff. So they were making bracelets. Now we couldn't wear them, you have to send them home, but still. And I said, she goes, go ask Kim to give us eyes, which means she's going to watch out and tell us if the law's coming. And I said, I don't want to, but I do it. Kim, will you watch out for us? And she's like, I don't want to. I'm trying to do my beads. I don't want to sit here because Aurora's greedy. Y'all going to be in there for like an hour or an hour and a half, and I don't want to watch out. I said, please. And I knew it. Let me tell you something. When you have somebody watching out for you and they don't feel like doing it, you've just set yourself up for failure because they're not going to pay attention. And Kim was not paying attention. Okay. Now, Amanda, it's too late. If you think you heard this story, oh well, you're going to hear it again. So you shouldn't have asked. So then we go into the hotel, shut the door, the little closet. And Aurora decides we should just live our best lives. You don't do this when you're getting down. She wanted to be completely without clothing. I said, this is not a good idea. I'm nervous. You can't move. What are you going to do? But okay. Now I kept that door cracked because I was nervous. I wanted to be able to listen. Y'all know when you hear keys, what? The law's in the dorm. So I kind of relaxed a little bit, and we were really just being, I mean, yes, we were messing around, but we were also kind of laughing and whatever. And then all of a sudden I heard a cha-ching, Cha-ching. And I said, "Shut up. Be still." And she was like, "You're tripping." I said, "No, be quiet." So I listened and I could hear it getting closer. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I said, "Oh my God, she's in the fucking dorm." And she's like, and so Aurora's like, "Oh my God." So we, two little naked women like this on that floor, like balled up into a little ball, barely able to breathe, staring through that crack of that door. Y'all, I saw the lady come in. Okay. She comes into that back bedroom and she goes straight to the bathroom and open the bathroom door. She was doing her security checks. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Oh my God, this lady's going to throw open this door and we're just going to be sitting here naked looking up at her. I can't, like, I'm embarrassed thinking about it. And so she's walking towards us and I'm like, and all of a sudden, Kim comes flying in behind her with necklaces and bracelets doing this. Miss Washington, we can sell these to y'all. Like you can do a contract where you can buy this. And so she's like runs up. Well, the lady turns around and freaks out. And she's like, "You don't run up on me. You don't run up on me. Get back. Get back." And she was like, "What? I'm sorry. I thought you didn't hear me." And she was like, "No, you get out." And so she makes Kim go back into the day room and she leaves the clothing room. And I can hear them talking in the day room. And then I hear the jingling get quieter. And then I hear the door faintly shut. Baby, I come up out, girl, I put my clothes on so fast, come up out of that clothing room. And I was like, oh my God, Kim, you weren't even, she was like, I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't. I was doing, the next thing I knew, I looked up and the lady was coming into the day room. I had no choice. She could have sprayed me and everything, but that's what I get because I wasn't paying attention. And then y'all know what Aurora said to me. Okay, well, let's go back. I said, no, that's it. And let me tell you something. I never went back to the hotel again. Never. Never happened again. I said, that was the Lord's sign to tell me to stay up out of that room. And yeah. So I guess it was embarrassing just the incident, but it could have been much more embarrassing, Amanda. It was I'll never forget it. And I felt like that was my sign to stay up out of that room. Um See there? Yeah. Miss Jerry says I warned couples about being in there when I was there. Now, the closet at Mountain View did have a water heater in it. The closets at Riverside didn't have anything in it. It was literally a little small closet with shelves. So when we had a good law on the weekends, oh, that was a wrap. That was a wrap. That we were in there for hours. We'd take a blanket in there. We took the radio in there. Because then you could kind of flip your headphones up and you could play it out loud and you could hear. Oh, we had a whole thing in there going on. But yeah, eventually after 3 years, it was a good run. And then this lady named Chi-Chi. I've told that story before, I think, when Chi-Chi ran us all in. And we had to devise a plan to break her card. So she wasn't getting that $100 run for Mother's Day. You ran us all in. So you're not getting commissary for 2 months until your card comes back. Because I worked commissary at the time. So, yeah, Amanda, Lori, she hasn't missed this story. I've probably told this story to her several times. So, but anyway, um, we called it Motel 6. Yeah. See? Look how connected we are through space and time. Um, I don't know what Diane's talking about. Fight. I never had a fight. This was the word that I was looking for. Thank you, Brandon. Harbinger. God bless. Brandon, we should have you on the show too sometime. One time me and Brandon Warren sat at a higher education conference until, I don't know, Brandon, what was it, 1 or 1:30 in the morning. talking about philosophy and simulation theory, the belief that we're all living in a matrix. It was a good conversation. Lord, someone said her name and she's here. So you've been quietly, silently listening from the shadows, Lori. And you've just been watching me flounder and flip about. Can we move on from your sex life? Never, never. And that may be the next podcast that I do. Um, the many loves of the Toonchinator. Well, honey, Marci's not well. She was real sick this morning. She had a terrible fever this morning, and I haven't heard from her. Um, so I didn't know what to do, and I made a decision, and I went with it. And I hope it was the right one. And I'm here tonight. Well, Amanda, now that you want to be on the show, just kidding. You can come on the show too. I don't care. That'd be great. It'd be fun. You got to think of a topic you want to talk about, and you're gonna have to deal with me, kind of being how I am. Can you handle it, Lori? I hope YouTube and Facebook don't flag your profanity. I hope they don't, because I feel like we've now settled into a good vibe. I feel a little bit looser. I feel a little bit looser. Do you see the glow? Do you see the glow? And we're really in a flow now. So I hope your profanity didn't just completely take us offline. Oh. Yeah, well, Destiny, I thought about it. I thought, well, I could tap into asking one of the girls to come on the show. But Mandy had her day at work today, and you and I were up at the Capitol. My feet still hurt. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to burden anybody, and I wasn't sure up until the end, literally until about 6:30, that I was going to attempt to do this by myself, and then suddenly I committed to it. And if y'all didn't see the graphic that I had ChatGPT create, which looked a lot like me, it did use one of my actual pictures. It did give me much bigger, thicker bags under my eye. Um, but Mandy, don't we all love attention? Don't we all? I guess in our own little ways, right? I do. It depends on what kind of attention. I don't like bad attention. Well, I mean, I guess depends on if it serves a purpose. Um, Amanda says that she can handle it. I don't know if you can. I don't know. Maybe we should test it out. See if you really can. Um, Lori's trying to be funny now because she used BITCH and she's saying that's my government name. So what's the problem? It's my married name. So think about that for a minute. Oh, I hope y'all are talking about me. You may not even be talking about me. Y'all could be talking about somebody completely different. Toonche, ask Miss Jerry about her being investigated. Investigated about what, Miss? Oh boy, now we've got a scandal go on. I don't know what you're talking about. Miss Jerry was investigated for something. Miss Jerry says, Diane, I will never admit to that, but I can assure you I denied everything. Golly, there's some good poppin' tea there. And for those of you who were in Texas women's prisons, we all may want to know this story, Miss Jerry, because I feel like there's some good tea there. I don't know what you're talking about, Diane. Hey, guess what? Now y'all are really blowing that chat up, and I can't keep up. I can't keep up. Well, Diane says it was a scandal, and it had to be at Mountain View because y'all were both at Mountain View for 20 years. Diane, do you see I have to move the microphone to drink my tea? Yeah. Destiny agrees. It's tea time. It's tea time. So, Miss Jerry, spit it out. Or Diane, one or the other, because you can't bring tea on this show and then just drop it. That's not the way we work. Well, we're at 40 minutes. I think I'll give us a few more minutes and they may call us in early. You know when they used to do that? We'd be out there for like 30 minutes and they'd go, "All right, it's time to go. Come get your IDs." And we'd be like, "Man, we just got out here. What happened?" Well, that officer got pulled to go do breaks or do something else. Oh, sorry, Diane. I missed it in the chat. I'm sorry. I don't multitask well. You know that. You worked in the library with me. I had to do one thing at a time. Check the books in, get people signed in. Ding dong, Jerry said she was investigated for a male officer. Miss Jerry. Now, was this at the beginning of your time? Or I don't think it was, couldn't have been towards the end of it because I was there and I would have known that. So this was at the beginning of your time. Girl, we need to know more. Lori wants to know, well, did it have to do with that closet? Was there a male officer in that closet? How did you know there was a water heater in there? I'm just saying. I'm just, girl, I'm not even going to put that on the screen, Diane. What was I saying? See, y'all caught me off track. Y'all know I'm in perimenopause or menopause. Destiny, I think it's just straight up menopause. Um, I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh, when they call us in. They call us in early, and then we all have to stand there and wait to get our IDs. I hated that. I hated it with a passion. And you know that one officer that would be like, they called your name and you weren't moving fast enough because again, you're arguing with your girlfriend and they're like, Toonche, they just called your name for your ID and then it's too late. She's already moved on and they make you wait till the end. Miss Allen. Miss Allen, y'all remember Miss Allen? She used to she had 30 different names. Miss Galloway, Miss Allen. Y'all, just as a visual, real skinny lady with kind of thin, I guess it was black or dark brown hair, right? And she was real country. Her accent was very country, and it wasn't the charming type of country deep accent like mine is. It was, I don't know how to explain it. Um, she, she I remember when and she gave Diane a hard time. You remember that, Diane? She really did not like you. She harassed you a lot. Um, but I remember there was another officer that knew her because they both lived in Gatesville or near Gatesville, and they were like, "Oh, she's something else." Like she goes, I'm not trying to tell this lady's business, but oh well. She goes to the bars and she goes out and whatever. And she said, now picture her in Daisy Duke cut off blue jeans with cowboy boots on. And she would do this thing. Do y'all remember this? That okay, so you had the windowsill, right? And there was a little ledge like in the cement where the window was, right? And she would be standing and she would put her leg all the way. She would put her foot all the way up there and she would stretch. I'm not kidding you. And she'd have that leg up and she'd be stretching. And then she'd do the other one. And everybody'd be like, girl, why has she got her hot pocket out like that just in everybody's face while she and when you were waiting to go in the dorm and there were these poles that held up the awning outside of the dorm. And if you leaned up against the pole, get up off that pole. You get up off that pole. Get up off that pole. That's exactly how she do it. It drove me nuts. And it would make me so angry because what is the difference between me standing here and lightly leaning on a pole? God, that lady was something else. The emotion in how you said her name. Oh, honey, mm, she was something else. We could talk for hours about some of the personalities. Y'all remember Miss Schaefer? We called her Bucky Beaver. We did, because her teeth were a little bucked. And I'm not, look, if she was a nice lady, there were lots of officers that were really kind to us. Well, I'm not going to say a lot. Let me back that up. There were officers that were kind to us. That were odd. There were odd little personalities. We didn't have bad nicknames for them or joke about them or anything like that, right? Because we respected that they treated us with with humanity and dignity, right? No matter how odd they were. But the ones that treated us badly, boy, they're open game. And Miss Schaefer, God bless, was a little white lady with short brown hair. Because it's hard to tell. Is this a stereotyped lesbian with short hair, or is this a woman that lives in the country? Sometimes they look the same. Sometimes they are the same, but sometimes they're just a middle-aged woman that lives out in the country that has a very butchy haircut. So anyway, that was Miss Schaefer. She was short. She was mean. She was mean as hell. And we called her Bucky Beaver because her teeth bucked a little bit. And when she talked like this. Let me tell you one time. And she was nasty mean. Was lockdown. Okay, so when lockdown happens in the dorm, you all have to stay in your cubicles, and the really bad officers would make you ask for permission to go to the bathroom. And we'd have to go one at a time. Okay? You got a dorm of 40 something women, 30, 40 something women. And if one of you got up and there was somebody else in the bathrooms, oh, it's going to be this big thing. They might write you up. Miss Schaefer wouldn't even do that. She would start at bed one and do bathroom breaks. Okay. So she'd start at bed one. Bed one, you can go to the bathroom. And so you'd have to wait till, and we're all just sitting there. Two, bed two. And if you didn't move fast enough, she would say, no, y'all are not ready. Y'all are not ready. We're going to stop bathroom breaks. And so then she would wait another hour. If somebody did something wrong, then we'd have to all stop and wait till she was, oh, it made me so angry. So I did. I had to pee. I did. But I'll be damned if I ask you, beg you, plead with you. I'm not fixing to do any of that. And matter of fact, when you get to my bed number, I'm going to tell you no. So she did once she got to like bed 15. We're not even halfway through the dorm. Bed 15. You're going to go to the bathroom now. You're not going at all. I said, no, thank you. She was just flabbergasted. You're not going to go. I'm not doing this again on my shift. I said, no, thank you. And then went ahead, squatted down when she was on the other side and peed in my cup. I sure did. I sure did. I just can't. I can't. No. God, I couldn't stand that lady. There was a rumor that somebody had dumped her in a trash can at Hobby. Did y'all ever hear that rumor? Um, are you wearing brown leggings? Now I'm gonna have oh, are you still talking about Miss Allen and her stretches? Yeah, she really was the devil, Miss Jerry. She was a nasty lady. Let me see. Stop impersonating the hillbillies. They were just the worst, and I always say, like, some of the worst officers through my 20 years, not that men weren't bad, not that there weren't bad male officers, there were. But some of the nasty, mean ones, the worst to me, were always women, which was so disappointing. Um, and it was usually those country those country ladies. I could still hear Miss Allen's voice, Diane. Whenever she was always very excited about chow. Do y'all remember that? And she used to say, "Let's do it." Let's do it every time it was chow time. So whenever we're all together and you hear me say that, I'm just bringing Miss Allen into the space. Well, we're closing out on 50 minutes. I think we did a good job together. I think Marcy will be proud. Thank you, Mandy. That's exactly how I feel. Um, I mean, I hope you're talking about the officers that we were talking about, and not and not some conversation about me. Um, but for sure that with those officers that were so hateful and mean to us, I hope Marcy's proud of us. I hope we did well. I hope y'all enjoyed the new headset. Look at it glowing. Um, I'm proud of it. And what else? Any last closing remarks before I wrap this up? Lori popped in and just popped right on out. That was that. Okay. Well, be back. Be back next week. Wednesday at 7 on the Rec Yard Women's Prison Podcast. Okay? Share it, like it, leave comments, spread it near, far, and wide. I almost said an inappropriate joke, Lori. You're going to thank me that I didn't. All right, well, love you dearly. This bitch. All right, well, I'll see y'all next week. Y'all send good energy, healing energy to Marcy Marie Ray. We love her. Hope her and Brittany are having a good night, getting over all the little germs. And we'll see y'all next week. Now let me find the button that I'm supposed to push.
Thank y'all for hanging out with us on the Rec Yard Women's Prison Podcast with Marcy Marie and Toonche. Make sure and subscribe to our channels so you'll